Welcome everyone to the afternoon session. Thanks for joining us. So welcome Iona.
Hi.
Make sure she can hear us. How are you feeling?
Um, a little spacey, but I'm here. Thank you.
Yeah, I can hear you a bit nasally, but
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it's as I said, it's just
Hiya, John. Hi.
detox happening.
Yeah, I do believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, these symptoms, like if you these cold and flu-like symptoms, are symptomatic of the body trying to deal with something, and often that's just an energy release. It's like energy arising, and the body's like, oh, this is unfamiliar. So then all the antibodies get mobilized, and then you get mucus, and. So I think that explains a lot of COVID, honestly, because COVID is a set of symptoms. It's a set of
Right.
symptoms that labeled as, oh, now it's COVID-19, but those symptoms can arise in response to many factors.
Well, it was so rapid after a big day on Sunday, and really, I can feel it going away now. Just about an hour ago, my head stopped.
Yeah.
I still feel like a bit of a marshmallow.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Welcome. And say hello to Cheryl. So Cheryl's just joined us for 3 weeks.
Hi, Iona.
Hello, Cheryl. Hi.
Lovely to meet you. Sorry, I'm sitting in the garden weeding.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where are you, Iona?
I'm in Findhorn in Scotland.
Oh, super. Super. I'm half Scottish and half English of my ancestry. So John and Iona.
Yeah, so I mean, we only most half of white South Africans here are English, Scottish in origin.
Yeah.
Only like a couple of generations out. So
Yeah.
apparently they're going to be changed. Deborah said, my wife said that they're going to change the law in the UK, apparently to allow people like South Africans particularly who have ancestry to come back, like ancestry going beyond mother, father, back to great grandparents and so on. So we'll see.
Okay.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. She spoke to a lady who's like an immigration expert, and she said, no one knows about it yet, but it's apparently coming.
I think the Irish do that. I think if you've got kind of grandparents that are Irish, or if you've got some sort of distant Irish connection, you get a much more accessible access to Irish nationality.
Yeah.
They do ancestry here, so it's great. It's not so great, but it's grandparents. You can get an ancestral visa. But I think they're saying going back further, because my great, I don't know if it was great or great. I need to ask my dad. He's into this family tree stuff. But they came from England. Great or great. So there's ancestry. Just not in the last 3 generations. Anyway, So Cheryl, I was just talking about my path and my wife's and this sort of non-dual school. So related to what you're saying about seeking, we all do it. We're seeking for the answer, and I'd looked at various paths. Started reading Eckhart Tolle. I read Conversations with God from Neil Donald Walsh. Lots, the Urantia book, other books about Jesus, Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, and quite a few others. And it was all pointing somewhere, but it was like, I'm still not quite getting the truth. I felt like it's not the whole truth. And then I'd seen references to A Course in Miracles and some of the quotes, and I was curious. And then I did a workshop with a guy, and he said, yeah, I know it's the word of Jesus. I was like, oh, wow, okay. I've always been fascinated with Jesus, although I was never a traditional Christian. There's something about him. I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting that he was an amazing guy. And the miracles interested me at that point, because I was into manifestation. So along comes A Course in Miracles from Jesus, and I was kind of like, oh, great. Jesus is going to teach me how to do miracles. Cool. Let's go for it. And of course, I didn't really understand what a miracle was. at all. I thought it was about phenomenal manifestation, and because, as I said, I was into manifestation at that point. But it was a starting point. And then, as you go deeper into this, you realize it's not really about the phenomenal manifestations at all. It's actually about a much deeper awakening in your heart and knowing who you are. Know thyself. This is the ancient injunction of every spiritual teacher and teaching. And I really found something very deep and profound in the course. And honestly, the first couple of years, I was just scratching the surface of understanding. I didn't really understand it, but I persevere with things. So you kind of, okay, there's something here, and I read it mainly on my own to start with. Then started teaching it maybe a couple of years afterwards, just in small groups, and a journey kind of evolved. I started teaching it in workshops and retreats. I was practicing the lessons every day, and I just found as I'm doing it, more of it reveals. It's like this layers and layers just revealing themselves. So it's not a book you just read and put down, really. It's life. If it gets you, and it's your path, it becomes something that's lifelong. You're going to study this, and it's a tool for your own awakening. You just kind of go deeper and deeper. We're doing, John, your experience, we're doing the lessons and the text again that you did about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And it's almost, what's your experience in it? But I know, like, I'm doing it again within 6 months, and it really doesn't matter. It's just like, okay, it's like a fresh lesson every day, and it just takes you a bit deeper every time. You get a different experience.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
You find you get a different kind of experience.
Yeah, I think it gets deeper each time. Yeah.
So I'm still learning as well as teaching. The course is very clear. You teach what you need to learn. So as I do these many hours of Zoom sessions, it's like you're just learning this thought system, because it's another thought system. It's another way of thinking about everything that's completely alternative to our normal default thought system, which Jesus calls the ego. It puts you into this, what he calls miracle-minded state, where you're just seeing everything differently. You open up to possibilities that you didn't think were there before. And it's not really, it leads quite nicely into our lesson today. It's not really about manifesting. Like, what do I want to manifest? What do I want? What do I need? Who's the I that wants and needs? It's more about saying, well, if I can really let go of my personal desires, my personal expectations, and open up, be in this state of openness, of spacious awareness. We call it pure formless awareness, which is a state where your mind is one with God, if you want to use that language. Then you open up to things happening that just you couldn't really conceive of. You didn't even know there were possibilities necessarily. And the whole point is to find peace of mind, no matter what. The real miracle is feeling love and peace and joy, no matter what. And then how that expresses in your life on the level of form is less important than the state of mind. So you make that primary, and then what happens on this level of form is secondary. So you lead with, you were saying, Christ is your anchor. Well, Christ is the one self that is connected always to this field of spacious awareness, of pure formless awareness or love. So then you're rooted in that. You're rooted in Christ. Well, what does that mean? You're rooted in that awareness. You stay in that awareness no matter what, and that's your primary goal. And then everything follows or flows from that. So related to the talk I gave, happiness is the foundation. Okay, so yes, I'm rooted in that awareness. That awareness is the source of my happiness. Love is the source of my happiness. And then that carries through into what I do, which is then the flow And in the masterclass, I used the words flow, but actually the flow is the miracles. It's like how this manifests on the level of form. The real miracle is the change of mind that then allows this flowing state to come into your experience, and things change in your life as a result. And those, most people go, oh, the miracle's the effect on the level of form. But the Course says, no, the miracle is the change of mind. It's a shift in your attitude and your perception of something. And you can do that anytime. So he's putting the power right back with you, and responsibility with you. You can change your mind at any point.
So, Jono, did I bring about an attack on my physical form?
Well, what do you think? I can't tell you. What do you think? I mean, if you go within and you look at what happened over the last couple of days, what does it feel like? Subconsciously, were you attacking yourself, or is it?
The line broke up a bit then.
Subconsciously, were you attacking yourself, do you think, or?
It almost came out of the sun. It was very unexpected.
Well, I mean, you said you had quite a profound shift on Sunday.
Yeah,
so you're sitting there in your loneliness and your sense of separation, which is quite intense.
Yeah.
And then that guy brought you into that, dancing process. And then you said there was a release. You really felt, the joy. So if you release strong negative energy, which is the ego, that release can cause symptoms on a physical level. And then what shows up is like, oh, I'm detoxing. I mean, I've seen it in workshops that I've run. People do this kind of mental, emotional, spiritual work for a few days intensively. There is a release, and they find, cool, I'm feeling it physically, and I might feel tired, I might get headaches, and I'm not giving them any, like, okay, we sometimes do a bit of fasting, but other than that, there's it's really just mental emotional processing, and yet they're having this quite strong physical reaction.
It's just I hadn't thought about it in these terms before. I had always associated with it with an attack on the body, or what am I needing to defend here, that the antibodies can go into overdrive to protect the body. It was very fierce and sudden, pounding head, fever, racing heart, overwhelming fatigue. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've been through quite a process over the last 7 weeks, really, since we started the course. There's been a lot of clearing, emotional releasing, and then you did another level of that on Sunday.
Yeah,
sounded like there was quite a profound release. It's like that energy, and so the body reacts. Then it's like, okay, a release of negative energy that might have been trapped cellularly for decades.
True.
And then it releases, and then there's a reaction, because we're energetic beings. The modern medicine doesn't credit that we are electromagnetic beings. This whole thing is it's all energy, electromagnetic energy, and so you change your minds, and you've got powerful emotions. That is all electromagnetic energy. And so that's going to change the body, and then the body shows up with symptoms as a result of that release. And I don't interpret it as an attack, just this is a release. This is part of the ego's kind of unwinding, and then you can have these physical symptoms, and it's quite normal on the journey. And then you just got to rest. So they say, after doing very intensive transformation, just rest of it, and give your mind and your body a chance to just detox, recoup, reset, recalibrate to another frequency. That's kind of what's happening for you. It's like sudden recalibration, a dropping away of the old, and then you experience that as physical symptoms, like flu-like symptoms, and you feel really tired and whacked. but actually it's just a lot of that energy releasing, which has been stuck and now coming into conscious awareness as it releases, which it kind of has to.
Mm.
And then, you know, give it a couple of days and you're right as rain. You'll be fine probably tomorrow. Because it's not a virus. It's not, you know, I don't even believe there is a virus, honestly. I mean, we won't go down that rabbit hole. But if you look at the latest research on viruses, they're saying, well, the shift, the change in the RNA code that is produced by the body in response to whatever it perceives as a threat, whatever toxins, pathogens are seemingly attacking the cell. That RNA mutation as a defense mechanism is exactly the same as the so-called virus. So what does that tell you? It's the same thing, right? And maybe it's not the cause, maybe it's the effect.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't that just be, because that's, and then you read the cause saying, well, the ego always confuses cause and effect. And you go, oh, bingo, well, there we go. You know, it's just confused cause and effect. It's actually the effect and not the cause. The cause, as Jesus is trying to teach us, is in the mind. It's all causative in your mind. That's where it's all happening. The cause is not outside of you. How you perceive things. So you perceive something as threatening, as they've done, you know, with this COVID. You amp up the fear. You get everyone, no, this is really serious. You get everyone believing the story. And if they're susceptible to fear, then that increases the production of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. And they might already be highly stressed. They're already kind of on the edge of what their body can tolerate. That tips them over the edge. Oh, guess what? They get sick. Suddenly they have the symptoms because there's an overload. The body goes into like, okay, too many stress hormones, too much cortisol and adrenaline. We've got to process this manifests all the symptoms of COVID-19. They measure the RNA mutation. They go, oh, no, that's the cause now. And actually it's the effect. And you go, oh my goodness, isn't that just diabolical? But that's what the ego does. So yeah, in your case, it's an effect. It's not a cause. Cause is in your mind. And this is a good effect. You know, it's not a bad thing. It's just showing you that you detoxing from the ego. Yeah. And releasing and recalibrating to a higher frequency.
Yeah. The world looks different today, I have to say. Now this pounding headache compression in here has gone.
So
a lifting, so you feel clearer and lighter.
Yeah, I do. I feel really light, actually.
Well, it's like that. You know, the ego is this. It's an energy. It's like an energetic virus in your system. That's in your. It's like so deeply entrenched in your body. Like, and you're not even aware of it.
That's true.
So, like, as it releases, then you go, oh wow, actually, that's just dropped away now.
Huge.
And I'm feeling lighter and clearer because it's left. It's like part of the virus has left your energy system. I mean, that's profound.
Yeah. And that's why people can look physically different. We can look physically changed, altered state.
Yeah. And you do notice that, you know. I noticed that when you had that shift early in the course. It's like, oh, something just dropped away. So now another level dropped away.
Yeah.
And if you do, you know, when we do the workshop in Findhorn, we'll take before and after photos.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
So you can show them. Look, before, after 5 days, after, and you can you always see the difference. If someone's really had a shift, you go, wow, you know, you can see, you know, same physiology and stuff, but change in facial features, more openness, more light. Sometimes they look 5-10 years younger. It's quite extraordinary. And that's just a releasing of, you know, these blocks. Jesus calls them blocks to the awareness of love's presence. So that leads us quite nicely into our lesson for today, actually. So I'm just going to share my screen. Today's lesson is actually all about miracles. And the quote today.
I'm going to mute myself and take my video off, okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Sure, no problem.
Okay,
if you want to read, we do share reading, so I'll invite you to read. If you don't want to, then that's fine. If you can't read the screen.
Perfect.
We're not quite there yet. So.
Thanks.
So There is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They're all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. This is first miracle principle in the text. So that's the first paragraph of the text. And it's often been said that if you understood that fully, then you could close the book and just say, okay, I'm done. I get it. But we study because that's a very different way of thinking about the world, isn't it?
True.
There's no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They're all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. So we judge things by, on the level of form. We say, oh no, that's going to be harder. That's going to be bigger, and related to limits in our own mind. Limits related to time and space. And he's saying, no, they're all the same because love is maximal. This awareness, pure formless awareness, this love presence that is our essence, is always maximal. It's the same. It has no variations. It has no degrees. It's of one order, one quality. So this is a pointer directly into that, to say they're all the same. All expressions of love are maximal. So stop making things harder and bigger and more difficult. If you're willing to drop all of those beliefs, because that's all they are, then there really is no order of difficulty in miracles. Like anything can happen. Yeah. That's beneficial. That doesn't mean you suddenly necessarily walk on water or do anything phenomenal or manifest millions of pounds, or those phenomenal things are not really that relevant. You say love is maximal, so what is the maximal expression of love in the situation? And then the spirit guides you to that, whatever that looks like. And you don't put limits on anything. You don't say, oh, well, I can do that and I can't do that. And so this quote, if you lived this quote, you'd be living the Course in Miracles. Yeah. But it takes a lot of mind training, because these limits in our minds are so entrenched. We've been brought up with these. We've been conditioned into believing that this is the way the world is. These limits are real.
Yeah.
Yes, there really is an order, and some things are possible, and some things are not possible, and some things are kind of maybe possible, based on what? Based on our past perceptions, our past experience, conditioning, programming, and that's what then influences our reality.
I learned a nice phrase in when I was doing my master's recently, social regimes. And, because, yes, there is the individual ego that each of us, the web, the matrix of our own egos, but there's also social regimes, just common beliefs of different generations and that seem unquestionable to the ego man, and but I just like that phrase, because, it's not just sometimes, a personal paradigm shift or whatever based on the personality or the ego. It's also beliefs of a whole generation that we've bought into, and I think that's what's been undone at this time.
Yeah,
I agree.
We live in the matrix, literally, and so that matrix is a thought system. Yes. And become deeply entrenched in the human psyche that, this is how the world works, this is what's possible, this is what's not possible. Yeah. And who says? Maybe just a collective belief. If you want to believe that, then you all believe it, then guess what? You create a world and a reality that reflects that belief. If the belief changes, then that reality changes, and that is what's happening. We're having a profound shaking up of a thought system that's been going for hundreds of years. This paradigm of scientific materialism started arising in the 500 years ago, and has now become the dominant religion, if you like, of the world. Most people believe in the scientific materialist paradigm. That, yeah, the world is external to me. I'm not really causative. So it's the Newtonian, Newtonian physics. It's that paradigm. I'm some object in the world. I feel quite disconnected from everything else. Everything has an objective reality. It can be seen, felt, measured. And although quantum mechanics came in 100 years ago, it's taken 100 years for the world to start catching up on a mental, emotional level to what it's really saying. And we're just starting to do that, I think. There is no reality in the absence of observation. That's what quantum mechanics says. Scientific principle, Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. There is no reality in the absence of observation. Whoa, what's that saying? Reality is in my mind. It's not out there. It's not some objective thing. Oh, there it is. It's in my mind. Which is what all the mystics have been saying for millennia.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of
Reality is in your mind.
It's the understanding of becoming a witness to oneself, and understanding. For me, I mean, there's a humongous awakening to consciousness, but for me, it's more than consciousness. It's also intimacy. I mean, I can have a stunning conversation with my husband, that's a cognitive relation, conversation, but there's also an intimacy that is beyond words. And I think that's what Christ offers, that for instance, so many other worldviews don't. At the essence is that there's this intimacy with this beautiful love. It's not this abstract thing. It's not just a purely cognitive thing. It's a heart thing. It's not just a head thing,
Felt, yeah. It's a felt sense of what we call love.
Yes. Yes.
And that's that's what any true spirituality is about. It's about you don't just think it, you feel it.
Yes.
What Jesus is doing with this course is saying, look, well, let's start where you are. Most people are in their heads. Okay, so we'll start there. Let's start with your mind. Let's start with your thinking. Let's start with your perceptions, your beliefs, and we'll cut through all those layers gradually if you follow this mind training process. And I'll show you. I'll bring you into a heart awakening where this starts to, you start to feel it. You feel the love, and you feel the presence of Christ, of this one self that's always been there, that's simply been denied by you. And that's the awakening. That's profound, and you can't really explain that in words. It's very difficult to say, well, this is because it's beyond words. It's beyond language. It's something that's felt. As he says, revelation is beyond words. It's intensely personal, and it can't really be put into words. But so he's working with us on in the domain of perception, which is the domain of miracles. Okay, so change your mind. Let's start changing your thinking, changing your beliefs, because that opens you up to that experience. Yeah. So I'll share my screen here. This is a diagram we studied the other day. Did this exercise on Sunday. It's quite useful to look at the layers. You've got layers of ego demonstrated quite clearly here. So perception at the top layer. So how I perceive the world. So that's just the surface level. Underlying that is emotion. So what am I actually feeling? But most people are not in touch with their emotions. So that's actually just subconsciously underlying their perceptions. And they're not even aware of the emotions that are there. Skating on the surface of perception. But if you're willing to, take this journey, you go into emotion. And, that's dictating a lot of your perceptions. So Iona, you just went deeper into your mind. You released a whole lot of deep-seated thought, belief, and emotion, and then the body reacts. The body reacts to that for sure. So now your perception on the level of forms, oh, I feel pounding headache. Have I got cold? Have I got flu? But it's because there's been a release on the deeper levels.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's I can really welcome that when you emailed me the other day, and I thought, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course it's going to manifest itself like that. Yeah, it was a relief. Thank you.
So there's nothing wrong. It's part of the layers being shed. If you look at all these layers, these are defenses, perceptions, emotions, underlying emotions, thoughts, underlying thoughts, beliefs. And then you get to the core. If you strip all that away, now you get to the core where the miracle can happen. This is who you really are. The desire or prayer of the heart is to know yourself. Who am I really?
Yeah.
And what I really want is peace above all else. I want this peace. I want this love. I want to feel joy. And that's the desire of my heart, beyond perception, emotion, thought, and belief. But you have to kind of strip all this away. These are layers of defense. It's like stripping all of it away to get to the core, and then there's a transformation that happens. And now your beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and perceptions are guided by this presence, which is the Holy Spirit, now guiding all of your beliefs, thoughts, emotions, and perceptions in one line with the truth.
Yeah.
And so you've done a profound transformation. Instead of perception being dictated to by the external world, the scientific materialist paradigm. Oh no, I'm upset because something or someone happened. This happened to me, and so, well, of course I'm upset. The person did this. You go, no. Actually, I'm really upset because I've got a belief that I'm unworthy of love, actually. And so this situation has just been a trigger that confirms that belief, strengthens that belief, the various thoughts around it, which then, attack thoughts, anger, projection of my guilt outwards onto the person. So then I blame them. So then I have the emotions of guilt, blame, attack, and so on. And then that all creates a perception of separation. I'm separate from them. They've really hurt me. I'm unfairly treated. All kinds of, it's a really negative state. And it's coming from your belief that actually that's what you deserve, truth. And we don't recognize it because the ego is cunning and it's saying, oh, no, actually it's the external world that's causing all this. The external world is causative. And Jesus is trying to reverse that and say, no, the miracle is the awareness that I'm causative. My mind is causative. My beliefs are causative. And then my beliefs manifest in the external world. So projection, isn't this just ingenious system for the ego to maintain itself? Projection from a false belief. Now it gets projected outwards. So it seems to be in the world. Then you perceive it as real because it's now outside of your mind, apparently. You perceive it as real and you go, oh, the cause is external, but you've forgotten this projection mechanism which you've just been studying. You go, oh, well, I just projected the belief out of my mind onto someone or something else who then seems to be the agent of my belief now acting out upon me. So, it's the idea of the mirror. It's just a mirror. It's showing you what's in your deepest subconscious thought, which is kind of helpful. So the genius of A Course in Miracles is saying, look, just use this mechanism of projection and perception that the ego has created to defend itself. Use it to undo it. Because if you can see and remind yourself that everything's a projection of my belief. So this is just showing me a belief, and now it's there. It's conscious. It's in awareness. I can see it. It's manifesting in conscious awareness. Now I can choose to change my mind about it consciously, so I can change my perception of it. Now, as I change perception, I have to be changing emotion and thought and belief. It all happens together. That's the top. Perception is a result of emotion, thought, and belief. So he's asking us to change all of this and get to the core belief. You see how ingenious the Holy Spirit's thought system is. You can get to the core belief, your own core belief, by simply looking at anything on the external with true eyes. This is why he's focusing so much on vision, seeing differently, seeing things differently.
Yeah.
Saying, okay, well, what's the purpose of this? The purpose isn't what I think it is. Actually, this is showing me my belief. It's now projected outwards. I can see it. Okay, so this is my own belief. I'm not blaming anyone else. It changes your perception of the situation entirely. I don't blame them because it's my own belief that's being shown to me. Well, then I'm blaming myself. That's pretty stupid. So you just reinterpret everything. So this is really very helpful. I can now perceive it truly. It's actually just my own belief. Okay, but it's a false belief. Actually, I don't really have to believe this. So the belief is false. The emotion is false. If I'm feeling angry, well, that's part of the false belief that someone else has done it to me. But hang on, how can I be angry if I've done it to myself? That doesn't really make sense. I'm doing it to myself. So why the anger? And so the whole thing starts deconstructing. The thoughts, okay, well, I thought that someone else was to blame. I feel the resentment. I feel the anger. Well, I'm doing it to myself. Now you replace it with the thoughts of I'm doing it to myself. Okay, well, so how can I be angry if I'm doing it to myself? Why don't I just stop doing it? And then you get down to the core belief. Oh, well, actually, maybe that's just not true. The idea that I deserve this, that I should be punished for some kind of sin, that I'm not worthy of love, which is what this is showing me. Maybe that's just not true at all. Maybe that's just a false belief.
I'm just thinking of the sometimes, anyway, I speak for myself, but my soul has internalized anger against myself, and which is very harmful and very destructive. And realizing, the basic love God with all your heart, love your neighbor as yourself. It is sometimes part of this unraveling in this journey is realizing where we've been so unforgiving and judgmental first of ourselves.
Exactly. This is all your own self-judgment. So we have a look at this diagram. This will be unfamiliar to you, Joe, but as I said, you'll just pick this up as we go along. So don't worry about it, because I reference this often. This is really the metaphysics of A Course in Miracles, just demonstrated diagrammatically. Right, sorry, can't take that. Okay, so let me just message my assistant in case she calls back. So this diagram is sent into hell. So this kind of explains the metaphysics of this teaching of A Course in Miracles. So I don't know if you can see that, Cheryl, but I'll expand it a little bit. I'll make it a bit bigger, zoom in a bit. So what he's saying really is it all comes down to our decision. We decided at some point to separate from this presence, God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness. And that decision then causes a lot of guilt, an idea of sin in our minds, that we've really done something terribly wrong. And now we deserve to be punished for it. But we don't want to accept that that's what's actually happening. The ego denies that. So then it projects the guilt out onto someone else, someone or something else. So we blame others, but really we're blaming ourselves. And we just don't want to see that. And this is saying that none of this is true. You never did separate from God. You never did. It never really happened. You can't do that. This awareness is your foundational awareness. It's the ground of being. It's that without which you could have no existence. So how can you separate from that which gives you your life, which gives you any life or existence at all. You just can't. It's not possible. And so he's just deconstructing a thought system based on a false idea that you actually really did separate and create another identity other than love. And all of the manifestations of the ego, the guilt, the sin, the attack. So when you project guilt, you attack others. And really, you're just attacking yourself. All attack is self-attack. All of that is false, based on a false idea that you really did separate, that you really are now some separate entity. And it's just not true. It's not possible. You can't. If you really could, you would cease to exist. Your source of life would have disappeared, and you would actually be non-existent. So we're living in kind of this weird, impossible, non-existent existence, which the ego has invented to replace this domain of pure formless awareness. Or if you want to use Christian language, the kingdom of heaven. It's exactly the same thing. And now we're feeling guilty and angry because of this apparent sin that this terrible thing we've done. We've destroyed this domain's perfect love. And Jesus is just saying to us, well, you didn't do it. It's not possible. So you're off the hook. You're not guilty. You can't do it, no matter how hard you try. You can think you can do it, which we all have, and you can create all kinds of illusions as a result. This entire red scrum is the illusion. But in truth, actually, you can't do it. So none of this is true. Only this is true, and it remains true, and it will be true forever. It's the eternal truth. So just take your mind, remind yourself of this, remind yourself continuously that this is the truth, and everything else is false, and your mind is then resurrected. You're resurrected into Christ as the one self that knows that you are one with God. You are this loving presence, this essence, this pure formless awareness. That's what you are. Okay, so any questions on that? Or should we just go into the lesson link?
So
Yeah.
sorry, just a thought. Obviously, for me anyway, my way of perceiving it is that the ego is sin conscious. God is not sin conscious. And for me, I mean, part of why I'm so passionate about Christ is because God so loved that he gave. So, who Christ is represents absolute love. I mean, for God was at work in Christ, reconciling the world to himself, not counting their sins against him, says the Bible. And yet, we've been taught this gospel of this very angry God that just wants to take us all out. And, we haven't understood who Christ really is and what he came to do for the whole world, whether people perceive it or not. So I don't personally deny the existence of sin, because sin is the concept of separation, and but I do understand that it's provided for, and it's been provided for everyone, and it's just a matter of accessing it, and that is grace. That is grace. That is where...
Well, ultimately, Cheryl, you have to deny the concept of sin, because it doesn't actually exist. If only God is real, and God doesn't know sin, as you correctly said, there is no sin in that perfect love. It's absolutely pure, formless awareness. It's perfection. The idea of sin, of anything being wrong, is simply not true. And so Jesus is asking us to look at that and say, look, yeah, this idea of sin that you've so believed in, your religions are based on them, the idea of a fearful, wrathful God that's going to punish you for your sin, this is all delusion. You've just made this up. You've made God in your own image and likeness. You've made a God based on your ego. So this is a false God. The God of the Old Testament, the fearful, wrathful, vengeful God, is not true. And the gospel he came to teach was this isn't true. There's actually, I'm going to show you what the true God is by demonstration, by living it, by expressing it in the world, and being this your absolute, unconditionally loving presence in the world. You know, as you said, he came to teach us, look, there's another way of living based on this connection with your source. You know, I am that I am. I am that presence. And if you come to know it fully, then this entire thought system disappears. And you become the light of the world. You show people a way out of a very dark, threatening, fearful, and awful. It's an awful thought system. The ego is not a nice piece of work at all, and it's created a world that is a very fearful, limiting, lonely, angry, place to be if you believe it. And he just came to say, look, it's not true. There is another world, there's another reality. Follow me, I'll show you the way back. I'll show you the way home. So that's why I said, that I'm the way, the truth, and the life. The only way to the Father is through me, because he was the way shower. And he's telling us, look, there's a way out of this, but you need to follow my way, follow my thinking, follow the way I thought, and you'll find your way out, as I did. So an example or a way shower. So I hope that kind of makes some sense. But we go over this, many times. I reference this diagram most days, so we'll definitely come back to this. Okay, so any questions? We have a little look at the lesson, I think. Well, it's down to, okay, so today's lesson. John, do you want to read the lesson in paragraph 1 first, please?
There is nothing my holiness cannot do. Your holiness reverses all the laws of the world. It is beyond every restriction of time, space, distance, and limits of any kind. Your holiness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as a son of God, at one with the mind of his creator.
Okay, do a little translation of the last sentence.
Yeah. Yes, your holiness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as the extension of love, at one with the awareness of its creator.
And holiness, it's not a common word. He's used it the last couple of days. Holiness is this awareness. Holiness is your pure formless awareness. It's the same thing, it's just another word for it. So your pure formless awareness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as an extension of pure formless awareness. Well, yes, that's where it comes from. That's what it is. It's of the same quality as its source, which is pure formless awareness, at one with the mind of his source. So it's pointing us back to the source, which is just this awareness. Awareness of pure formless awareness, perfect awareness of itself as all there really is, as existence itself, beyond all illusions of all restrictions of time, space, distance, and limits of any kind, because these laws of the world are all part of this egoic thought system. They came about because we believed in an idea of separation. And so all of these laws are now a projection of an idea that's false. So if they're false, then they don't hold. Just saying, well, the miracle is simply to recognize that they don't hold, that they're not true, and they don't limit you. So there is no order of difficulty in miracles. And there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Those statements go hand in hand, don't they?
Jono, did I hear you say that holiness is pure formless awareness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. Good.
So these are just alternative terms. So if you want to read paragraph 1 again, Iona, and just translate holiness as pure formless awareness and God as pure formless awareness.
Yeah.
And creator as source, and see how that reads for you.
Your pure formless awareness reverses all the laws of the world. It is beyond every restriction of time, space, distance, and limits of any kind. Your pure formless awareness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as the extension of love at one with the mind of its source. One with the extension of its source, or mind?
You can use mind if you want.
Yes, at one with the mind of its source. Yeah, that's much easier.
So if you translate Son of God as Son, an extension of pure formless awareness, it makes complete sense. Your pure formless awareness is totally unlimited in its power because it establishes you as an extension of pure formless awareness. Well, yes, obviously, that's what you are. Pure formless awareness is pure formless awareness. There is no distinction in that. That's why it's called pure formless awareness. It's the same awareness. There's no distinction and difference. Distinctions and differences, which are part of the restrictions of time, space, distance, and limits, are part of the ego's thought system, a part of limiting pure formless awareness, saying, oh, no, it's not pure formless awareness, it's something else. Now we have form. I perceive form. So that creates limits and separation in my mind and all kinds of restrictions. And he's pointing us to a state that's completely beyond that, which is your holiness or your pure formless awareness. So there is nothing my pure formless awareness cannot do. It has no limits. It's unlimited by time, by space, by distance. It reverses all the limits that I've believed in because these are not true. My pure formless awareness is the only truth.
So lesson 35, my mind is part of God's, I am very holy. I am very...
Well, it doesn't really work with I'm very pure formless awareness.
No, I am very aware.
Yeah, I am pure formless awareness.
I am pure formless awareness, yes.
You just have to, change the language a little bit to make it make sense, but it does make sense.
It does.
My mind is part of God's. No, my mind is God's. My mind is pure formless awareness. I am pure formless awareness, right? In the Bible, the first name of God that Moses got when he's, seeing the burning bush, obviously having some kind of mystical experience. And he says, well, so what should I call you? And God says, just say that I am, spoke to you. I am that I am, the first name of God. I am that I am. Right? I am that pure formless awareness. I am that awareness. It's so simple. And these words just point to it. And it is using the words to point us from our separated state to the I am awareness. I am that awareness. And there's no other awareness. That's it. It's my awareness. I'm not part of it. I'm the whole of it.
Yeah.
There's no part whole relationships in pure formless awareness. It is what it is. Our only job is to merge our awareness with that awareness and have that as our only awareness. And of course, at the moment, we're not quite there, are we? There's lots of other things going on in our minds. So he's working with us in our separated state to say, okay, well, I know where you are, which is helpful. He wouldn't be a good teacher if he didn't know, okay, look, I understand all of this.
Yeah.
I understand you actually think that you're an individual in a body. You think you're a victim of an unfair world that's seemingly outside of your mind. You're living this helpless, innovated little life, which is as you can see, an acronym for hell. And that's what it really means. Hell is a helpless, innovated little life, a little ego going, oh, like I'm very limited. There's a lot of lack. I'm lonely. I'm scared. I'm suffering. And oh my God, I'm going to die one day. And all of it's pretty fearful. So he's meeting us here and saying, okay, well, I know where you are, but let's just start correcting these misperceptions and these false beliefs that have led you down the ladder of separation to get to this point. Because this is all a product of your own belief. It didn't just happen to you. God didn't put you in a world to be, attacked and suffer and die. That had nothing at all, fortunately, to do with love. None of this has anything to do with love. at all, which is a relief. Because otherwise you're trying to figure out, well, why would a loving God do this? And of course, there's no answer. Well, a loving God wouldn't do it. That's the answer.
Mm.
A loving God didn't do it. So none of it's true and none of it's real. That's the answer. That's the one answer to all the problems we experience in time and space. But it takes a lot of mind training to accept that answer as we confront the problems of time and space, all these limits that he's talking about, the restrictions of time and space and distance and limits. We seem to be living in that. We're living in a world of limits, of restrictions, of boundaries. And it feels very imprisoning, feels limiting, doesn't it? It's like we all just not getting this, and then we try harder. But you're dealing in a construct of limits. So are you ever going to find pure formless awareness, which is unlimited, infinite in its nature and eternal, by believing in a construct of limits? You're just not. Saying you've got to drop all the limits, which is what this lesson is inviting us to do. Just realize that your holiness, your pure formless awareness, is totally unlimited in its power. It's not within this framework. It's not within the framework of limits based on an idea of separation. It's outside of that. And he's inviting us to go there with a simple lesson, with a simple reminder. There is nothing my holiness cannot do. John's got to go in 20 minutes. Okay. So let's see if we can finish this, and then we'll do a meditation. So number 2, Iona.
Through your pure formless awareness, the power of pure formless awareness is made manifest. Through your pure formless awareness, the power of pure formless awareness is made available. And there is nothing that the power of pure formless awareness cannot do. Your pure formless awareness then can remove all pain, can end all sorrow, and can solve all problems. It can do so in connection with yourself and with anyone else. It is equal in its power to help anyone because it is equal in its power to save anyone. Wow. Well, what a huge paragraph, actually.
Yeah.
This is it, isn't it? There are no barriers, there are no limits.
The limits exist in our own mind only.
Yeah.
We can go beyond those, go into our pure formless awareness, this blue circle. Then all of this drops away. So none of it's true. And then we bring, from this state of mind, we bring the power of this into our experience in this world. And then things show up that we go, I don't really understand how that could happen, but it did happen, because the limits that the ego's made up don't really exist.
Yeah.
Or a construct of mind, which is the default construct. Most people believe in it. So it seems to be, this is the world we live in, this is reality. But beyond that lies pure formless awareness, underlying everything here. So he says, my holiness, my pure formless awareness envelops everything I see. Well, of course it does. It's the underlying base state. It's the awareness without which I would have no awareness. I would have no life. And it's so, you go, how can I miss this? How can I miss this my entire life? It's there. It's right there in my mind. And yet I haven't been aware of it. It's quite extraordinary, really. But that's the human condition, unaware of our own awareness, our own true awareness, aware of all kinds of other false ideas and thoughts that just make no sense at all.
Yeah.
When I had that little mystic experience in the Vipassana retreat,
Yeah.
I really saw it was so visceral. It was just like, I get it. I get it. When they say it's a veil of illusion, I absolutely get it. We have projected it all out of our minds. Now we perceive it as real. And the only reason we've done that is to convince ourselves that we are separate. That's the whole point. I really am a separate self. Because look, there's a world outside of me. I have a body. And the world is then the justification for all of these false beliefs, for the separate self and all of the false beliefs, guilt, sin, fear, attack. And that's all it's there for. There's no other purpose. Actually, the only thing that's true is this. And I had a little experience of it. It's like, oh my goodness. And I cried. It's like, how could we have covered this over? This is where the word kind of came into my mind. Pure formless awareness. I couldn't think of any other way to describe it. Pure formless. It just it just is. And none of this matters. None of this exists at all there. It just, and it was so obvious what we've done. We've just covered it over with this insane thought system, and now we perpetuate it by believing in the projections of it in this world. And that creates a lot of misery and unhappiness and suffering and death, and none of it's true. It's just this illusion, the veil that's been pulled over our minds to cover over that awareness that is our true awareness.
Okay.
But fortunately, it's still there. You can't lose it. So you can just take away the covers, remove the veils, and open up to that awareness. And it's still there, and you haven't lost it. And it will come if you invite it, because it's there. It's the foundation of who you are. It can never be destroyed, which makes a nonsense, a mockery of the ego's entire thought system based on the idea that you have destroyed it. Well, you can't destroy it. It's impossible. If you could destroy it, then you would cease to exist. You would have no mind. Well, clearly you still do have a mind. You can think, you can feel, you can have some awareness. Just that awareness is a lot of the time false. You're now thinking and feeling from a self that doesn't even exist. It's not true. That's a total illusion in your mind. Kind of extraordinary, really. I mean, you see it, you go, oh my God, what a mind job we have done on ourselves. My God. And now we actually believe, we really believe, we individuals down at the, this base of this, and we really are victims of an unfair world and helpless, and there's all this limitation and lack and loneliness, and I'm trying to find my way in the world and trying to protect myself and trying to do the best I can, and it's all very scary and fearful, and actually I'm not really seeing the point of any of this, but I'll just kind of soldier on, because what else can I do? You're saying, well, what else you can do is you can just let it all go, and you can take your mind back here in any situation, and that's the miracle. Take your mind back there. Take your mind back into that state of being in pure formless awareness, no matter what's going on here, because none of it's true. Whatever's happening on the timeline really doesn't matter at all. It's not of any consequence. So these events on the timeline that the ego wants to attach to and make real and juice for all the emotional drama that they create are not true. You just have to recognize that and say, well, there is nothing my holiness cannot do in this case. Use the lesson of the day. Take yourself back there. And that's the miracle. Then you've changed your mind fundamentally. And if you do that, then what happens on the level of form must change, because it's all mind. We live in the quantum field. You change your mind profoundly like that, you take it back to pure formless awareness, then this changes. Okay. So number 2, we've just done. Happy with number 2?
Yep.
Number 3, let's ask Cheryl if she wants to read. Cheryl, are you still in the garden? Do you want to read paragraph 3 for us?
Okay, hold on. I'm on my phone, so I just have to zoom in.
Yeah, I can do that for you if you like. So
there we know. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Number 3, paragraph 3.
Great. Okay. If you are holy, so is everything God created. You are holy because all things He created are holy. And all things He created are holy because you are. In today's exercises, we will apply the power of your holiness to all problems, difficulties, or suffering in any form that you happen to think of, in yourself or in someone else. We will make no distinctions because there are no distinctions.
Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's for me about perception again, how we see others and how we see ourselves. Yeah.
So if you are holy, if you are in this state of mind, which we call pure formless awareness or holiness, use whatever term works for you, really. The language just points you to something that's beyond words. But if you are in that state of awareness, you are that awareness, then so is everything. Because it's the underlying awareness, the ground of being, it's been called by some philosophers, that underlies all form. Without that awareness, there could be nothing. Without that awareness, there could be no world. There could not be a split from that awareness unless there was that awareness to start with. It's that without which nothing would have existence, without being. Primary existence, pure formless awareness, the ground of being, essence, truth. It doesn't matter what you call it, but there's something there that underlies the entire cosmos. And the ego doesn't explain this. Science doesn't explain this, because science says, well, this big bang happened, right? And then we'll take it from there. We'll now explain what happened from there, and then they go into the how. Okay, so how did this all happen? The universe cooled 16 billion years later. Here we are. But they can't answer why. Well, why did it happen? Oh, well, suddenly this ball of energy pops into existence out of nothing. Okay, well, what's the nothing then? Where did this all arise? There must have been something. Maybe it's not a thing. Maybe it has no form. There must have been something from which it arose. Okay, so what's that? Science doesn't go there. They don't want to go there. I listened to a talk by a quantum physicist the other day, and he does a whole talk on the science and where we are and the standard model, and they're trying to explain this whole cosmos much better. They've got something called the standard model, which is an equation, but it's not quite there. They're looking for the grand unified theory. And he says, well, when we get to time zero, in other words, before the Big Bang happened, then we don't know what happened. There's one sentence, and then he moves swiftly on. I'm going, whoa, just stop there. If you pause there, said, okay, before that, we don't know. Now you're opening up into something unknown, beyond time and space, right there. But then your models, all the restrictions of time and space and distance and limits, which they're modeling in the standard model, just drop away. All of that just drops away. It doesn't exist there. And of course, then
can you scroll that down a little bit more, just so I can see the bottom there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you.
So as I said, yeah, we reference this diagram quite often because it's the metaphysics explained diagrammatically, the metaphysics of the course, which all these lessons point to. So it's all teaching you to remember the truth of what's actually true, what's real, and what's not. Okay, so any questions on number 3? Sure, you happy with that? Makes sense? John?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so then we go into practice. So I'll take you through a little meditation. John, you have to go in, 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know if you want to do the first 5 minutes of the meditation and then go, or when you want to.
I'll do that. Yeah.
End it now. Okay. So we'll do a little meditation on the lesson just to practice this. It gives us some mind training to do. So we're going to practice it in this meditation. I'll guide you through that. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes. And start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching your sphincter muscle. So you're locking the energy in. Drawing the energy up the spine. Into your heart center. Drawing it up into the crown of your head. And just pausing at the top of the inhale. Take another sip of air in. So maximal inhale breath. Just pause and repeat today's idea. There's nothing my holiness, my pure formless awareness cannot do. Feel the truth of those words. And if any situations arise in your mind, which can happen, just look at them and say, when the situation involving whatever it is, whoever it is, in which I see myself, there is nothing that my holiness or my pure formless awareness cannot do. The situation involves someone else. Breathe in again to top yourself up, create some spacious awareness. The situation involving whoever it is, in which whoever it is sees himself or herself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. Now you're going to exhale and just have a sense of releasing with the breath. Letting go of any blocks. You might find some resistance to the idea there's nothing my holiness cannot do. Notice how that shows up emotionally, mentally, physically, and then blow it all out. Let it all go. With the breeze of your breath into the nothingness, the no-thingness, right? The formless awareness that you are. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest here. In your holiness, in the pure formless awareness that you are. For a few minutes. If any other thoughts come, just apply the idea to them. So in the situation involving whatever it is in which I see myself, or in which anyone else sees himself or herself, there is nothing that my holiness cannot do. And you repeat that slowly and deliberately to yourself. You feel the power of that. Feel this awareness arising. As you point to it through these words, it arises in your mind. You're asking it to reveal itself. And you might like to add some thoughts around the main idea. There's nothing my holiness cannot do, for instance, because the power of God, the power of love, the power of pure formless awareness lies in it. Feel the truth of that statement, sink into it, rest in it, rest in the experience of it. Find a spacious awareness arising in your mind. Let your breath take you into that. So just breathing in and out through your nose. Noticing the air flowing in and the air flowing out. And the stomach rises and the stomach falls. And you just observe the breath from this pure, formless awareness, this witnessing presence. You access it, you access pure, formless awareness. Your holiness arises. A holiness that is beyond limits of all kinds. Jesus says, your holiness reverses all the laws of the world. It is beyond every restriction of time, space, distance, and limits of any kind. Your holiness, your pure formless awareness is totally unlimited in its power, because it establishes you as an extension of that same holy presence, that pure formless awareness, at one with the mind of your source. So I invite you now just to sink into that awareness. Go beyond thoughts, go beyond emotion, go beyond belief, and just allow the awareness that you are to be in your awareness. It's pure, it's formless, there's nothing to think about. Time and space drops away, and you simply are that awareness. There's nothing else. So let your mind go there. It wants to go there. This is its home. This is its true state. So just surrender into it. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about for the next few minutes. Just breathe, observe the breath flowing in and out. You're the witnessing presence, the observer, and this awareness is arising in your mind. You just allow it to come without blocking it, without any resistance. If your mind wants to wander, think about form, think about things in the world, just observe the thoughts. Imagine they're like clouds just drifting by. They have no power to obscure the eternal light in your mind. So you just let them go with the breeze of your breath, and you surrender your mind into the blue sky of your pure formless awareness, and you let the light of your source shine through it for the next few minutes of deep silence. And if any thoughts arise, just apply the idea to them. Thoughts of time and space, restrictions of time, space, distance, and limits of any kind. Mind yourself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do. So in this situation involving whatever it is, whoever it is, in which I see myself, there is nothing that my holiness cannot do. In the situation involving whatever or whoever in which someone else sees himself or herself, there is nothing my holiness cannot do, because the power of God, the power of unconditional love, the power of pure formless awareness, these are just pointers to the same presence that is beyond words, is in it. In your pure formless awareness is the power of God. And you can bring that into operation in any situation in your life. So just release once more, exhale, and let go of any belief in limits, restrictions that seem to be a problem, seem to be causing you or anyone else any distress, any suffering. And release your mind into the pure formless awareness, the holiness that it really is, that is its true state of being. For another couple of minutes of deep silence. And so just gently bringing your awareness back from this deep state into the body, the senses, and the breath and the world. And on the count of 3, open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Notice that. Pause at the top of the inhale. Scan your mind. There's just holiness, just spacious awareness. Notice that and be glad. Appreciate it. This is your true awareness. Are there any thoughts there? Any emotions? Just apply today's idea one more time to them. So in the situation involving whoever, whatever it is in which I see myself, there is nothing that my holiness, my pure formless awareness cannot do. Feel truth and the power in that statement. Exhale. And have a sense of just again releasing whatever that thought, that emotion, just a covering. Remember, the ego's just created an external world to justify negative thoughts and emotions that block the awareness of your pure formless awareness, block your holiness. It's the only purpose for the world. So let it all go. Notice how the air flows out as you exhale. Chest and the stomach suck back in. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Notice the energy subsiding down from the crown of your head, down the front channel of your body into your lower stomach and your groin. Feel the weight of your body pressing down onto the chair, your feet touching the ground. The count of 2. Noticing what you're feeling with your hands touching. Maybe there's subtle smell in your nose as you inhale. Notice that. Notice what you're tasting. Notice what you're hearing. Surrounding environment. You just allow the sounds, the sense perceptions to arise without judgment. You're the witnessing presence. And you don't judge them, attach to them, label them. They just come and they go. They blow through your mind. And underneath them is the holiness or the pure formless awareness that you are. So connect with that, anchor it into your awareness for the rest of the session and the rest of your day. So it is said, so it is done. Now on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around. Noticing the various objects in the room around you. Whatever they happen to be, just let your eyes randomly rest for a second or 2 on each one and say, there's nothing my holiness cannot do. I'm not bound by the restrictions, by the seeming limits of time and space. There's nothing my holiness, my pure formless awareness cannot do, because the power of God, the power of love, the power of pure formless awareness lies in it. Feel the truth of that statement. Anchor that truth into your awareness for the rest of the session and the afternoon and evening ahead. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and today's session. So thanks everyone for joining, and I hope to see you a bit later. Got a session happening this evening at
It's one of my 2 sessions. I get 2 sessions every night.
6:30 p.m. UK time. That's 8:30 p.m. SA time for you, Cheryl. So join us if you would like to a little bit later. My pleasure, Cheryl. So thanks for joining, and yeah, I hope to see you soon. Join us tonight or tomorrow, same time. Namaste, which means the holiness in me acknowledges and honors that holiness in you. Cheers, Ayana. See you later. Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
Do you want to stay on the line? I'm just going to stop the share.
Oh,